Hello and welcome to today's episode of the podcast. If you're passionate about building strong leadership teams, future ready HR functions, and high impact people strategies, you are in for a powerful conversation today. Joining us today is Rakesh Kumar Sharma, founder and virtual CHRO at Olyx Global HR, a premier HR executive search advisory organization focused on optimizing human capital for businesses across sectors. Rakesh ji, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much inviting me on this valuable podcast.
Rakesh has led large teams build HR architectures from the ground up and now advises organization on CXO and leadership hiring. The kind of in-depth analysis that he brings into the HR fraternity, that's commendable.
Thank you
My
so much.
first question would be, what's the biggest shift that you have witnessed in how organization approach talent in the last 5 years?
Talent acquisition and talent strategies are one of the major players in the HR strategic framework. Organizations or industries are struggling to find out the right talent at right time, and most importantly, the leadership hirings are becoming critically difficult for most organizations finding out the top talent, top skill set, and then the competencies which are aligned to the leadership approach in the game changing environment. uh, Competitions are furiously increasing, businesses are becoming competitive, and the global socio-economic the complexities are enhancing the challenges to a next level. Hiring becomes a little a critical challenge, not only in the technology but into the across industries, whether it is pharma, FMCG, retail, engineering, or consumer businesses across. So, from the HR strategic standpoint, the tapping the top talent, attracting them at the right time, and then ensuring that the timely closures of those positions are the important the aspects for the hiring processes. So, boardrooms are becoming very tight in the context of the hiring process, and the desired skill sets are required to meet the management's expectation, stakeholders within domestic or the global businesses, or your investors. They eye towards each talent which you are bringing on the table had to add value to the businesses. So you rightly spotted, until the organization do not have a short term long term strategies which are defined in terms of creating a talent pool.
So, what is the most common misconception that you hear from the HR leaders about AI in hiring or about AI in general?
Important feature which I am looking at in the most of the conversations with the HR leaders, they would love to have the technology in place, because technology not only adding value to their business but also giving them the edge to drive their businesses much faster. From the HR's critical aspect which they are looking at is that the right set of a talent and a skill set. Skill set is something which is a gap between the know-how of the business and then subsequently what people are coming with their exposures and that required to drive their business. What we have critically observed, most HR leaders at this juncture are having a the shortage of a talent pool. Subsequently, they have a gap in their succession planning. Larger organizations are ready with the technology. The smaller organization, they still have a lot of technology gaps.
So, how are they effectively balancing AI efficiency with essential human elements in the recruitment, especially, the small organization? And what are the tricks of the trade that is being used by the large organization?
Global organizations or multinational organizations, they have adopted technology much faster to understand the dynamics of the critical business nuances. So the new age tools, the AI driven methodologies of hiring process, whether it is ATS or the competency behaviors mapping or skill mapping or gauging the human nature, that adds a lot of flavor while the hiring the right set of our talent. Subsequently, the resources are limited for the small or a mid-size, the organizations. Readiness towards the technology adoption is one of the critical factors, specifically the small organizations. When we look at it, the multinational or global organizations, they have adopted much faster and spreading across the geographies. The speed and alignment, the transformation of culture, transformation of learning agilities, transformation of the strategic interface into the in the global environment, AI is playing a much better or a sharper role in.
So one of the things that we feel these days is, the resumes are getting inflated.
Okay.
So is it giving the true picture of the candidate still?
Solid question at this moment, because the JDs are being created with the help of chat GPT or different time and technology tools. Subsequently, when you go into the filtering down of the profiles, you look at it, the keywords or skills which are being mentioned in that JD. Candidates are proactively taking the similar help of the technology to outburst this gap of the keywords which are being mentioned in the JD. But as an HR, one has to have a very very clear insights about the gauging competency mapping, the analyzing the individual's capability in terms of those skill set which are need to be measured. HR has to be a little sharp in terms of screening, evaluating, and shortlisting, and identifying those the misfits of the KRAs and
Yeah.
KPIs. Uh,
Viewers, I know you've been asking this question off and on. What are the quick tips?
First is that they should learn the art of reading between the lines in the resumes.
Wow,
Okay,
that's a lot of
resume
fun.
gives you a lot of reflection of that personality, experience, behavior, knowledge, skill, what candidate bring on the table. Subsequently, HR need to spend time on the profiles, KRA and KPI, and then skill gap matrix analysis. HR must know about it. The fourth angle which I would like to share, that the understanding of that business, understanding of that the business critical nuances is the utmost need from the HR to learn and understand. Then only you can be a business partner to the organization. And lastly, I would like to highlight that HR to also evaluate the competencies of the individuals. So therefore, they could be able to bring the analysis of the competencies which are required for that particular role, and that is how the fitment can happen. Ideally,
I think it's a very valid point that you made right now. So, the business understanding is very critical, and all the more you need to learn how to read between the lines and cannot fully be dependent upon the ATS system. The app,
absolutely.
we talk a lot about the cultural fitment, with this AI thing. What is the biggest challenge that you observe about the cultural fitment?
Cultures and values are the ethos and ecos of any organization on that particular foundation. Organizations build their businesses. Now, culture fitment is something wherein the HR has a much wider and a pivotal role to play in the whole process of hiring. While we evaluate the people, we look at their agility, transformation, adaptability, and subsequently what they have contributed in their last organizations. One critical factor, Puneet, which I have observed, cultures are part of the business, the way we run in the existing ecosystems. So while hiring the top talent, leadership hiring, board level people in the organization, that dynamic shifts are really needed at a HR front. Any such miss will create a havoc. We have seen many organizations collapsed because of the wrong hiring of the top leaders like CXOs, CEOs. Changes or the transformation from one culture to another, or the environment to the another one, it's not a overnight exercise. Management need to have that empathy and the timelines for these cultural dynamical changes. Once you have built your the systems, you run it smoothly. During my the tenures in the HR, I used to say it is a trick. Trust, respect, integrity, and courage. So
Awesome, awesome.
if you imbibe these practices in the people, the practices, and the through the HR strategic framework, slowly, gradually, these the values get imbibed in the organization ecosystem, and slowly, gradually, you see the complete transformation happens from the empowerment to the change dynamics, and your leadership style gets also strengthened with these processes.
Another question that pops up into my mind is, company invests a lot in employer branding, you know, but often there is a disconnect with the actual employee experience. So how can organization ensure their brand genuinity reflects in their culture and attracts, the right kind of a candidate?
Holistically, if you look at it, is a part of multiple gamut of HR operations. Specifically, one gamut is the policy, processes, and systems, which had to be followed diligently. Subsequently, the brand presence, when we talk about how we treat our people, your treatment, your empathy, your communication, your transparency, and then, of course, the value of ethics which you add into this flavor. The HR should not be blocked within the four walls of the boardrooms, or I mean, at the corporates, and their visibility also makes a huge impact. So, how we communicate to our internal and external stakeholder, that adds a lot of value. And what we say, do we adhere to it? Puneet, everything is coming out as a 360-degree to us. We need to be sharp, specific, crystal clear in our approach, so that the right messaging goes to your the end customers. I see there are a lot of organizations, they put a lot of investment in the well-beings, health, safety, empowerment, work-life balance, and then of course they are the rewarding people specifically at times when they are contributing immensely to the organization.
Yeah. So viewers, one thing, whatever you are saying, especially to our leaders who are watching this today, walk the talk, and believe you me, that culture would spread, that news would spread like a wildfire, and you'll get the
Absolutely.
right talent.
As an HR leaders, while we execute strategies or systems or policies, remember there is a human touch, which is largely empathetic, touching people with their the emotions, and then of course talking about what exactly their critical challenges which they are passing through in their life. Employees do have their employee life cycle. Okay, when
I
they
agree.
join the organization, then they get matured in the same organization, and then they get retired. So this whole transition has to be very closely been nurtured, valued, and supported by HR and the business leaders. That's the key to drive your employer branding.
Very, very neatly said. Job descriptions list skills, but how do we go beyond that to align with the right talent and the role? How do we do something different over here?
The hiring process in today's context is quite complex and dynamic. There are various techniques are being used in the hiring process. So one widely is being used is the star technique to
Yeah.
spot the real talent. So that is situational the hiring process. There are other ways of gauging these skills through the competency based interviewing skills. How to evaluate and gauge the leaders in the light of what competencies are required. Thirdly, what we also look at it, the assessment tests, specifically for the technical domain. I mean, the HR leaders bring the assessment test metrics, which gives you a quite the clear visibility of the candidate's perspective in terms of a knowledge. And lastly, for leadership hiring specifically, There are not only the basic interviews or behavioral interviews which are being done, but at the Olyx Global HR, we have a unique methodology of a hiring process. Okay, which is embedded with the technology, situational based, behavioral hiring metrics, and of course, in the context of a projects, what our prospecting candidates are delivering. So, training and development, investing on the managerial developmental programs and leadership developmental programs adds lot of value for organization from transforming from one step to the another.
We talk a lot about, emotional intelligence, resilience, leadership, it's more often a guesswork. So how can we move beyond the guesswork and have more reliable tools? What creative methods are you seeing or using?
We are using multiple the channels for screening, filtering, and shortlisting the prospecting candidates for senior and a leadership or a CXO level hiring process. Leaders are expected to be having a sharp understanding of the marketplace or the horizon which they are operating. Subsequently, the leaders are also expected to look at the competitive environment and the business models which are rampantly getting changed. In those contexts, leadership hiring becomes a much critical and a difficult the process. So when we run the business on a growth or a profit methodologies, Puneet, the leaders are having a they require to play a T20 innings rather than getting into the test match methodologies when we
Yeah.
see from the cricket eyes. However, when we check this in the business models or a large enterprise, achieving 15% or a 20% EBITDA, it's not that easy. It can be written on the wall or maybe showcasing in the in the balance sheet, but it requires a lot of adaptability, change matrix, leadership styles, functionality, product pricing, placing of your and then of course how you build. So as a leader or as an HR leaders or experts, we go into a deep dive of each minute aspect to spot the top talent for the leadership hiring.
Great. One thing, we hear it in every forum. It's about, Gen Zs, how do they perceive hiring? The new age coming in, the new talent coming in. So how do they perceive this AI-based hiring? Are they more skeptical or more accepting?
Talent, I mean, Gen Z is a different community altogether, Puneet. We all grew up in the Gen X, Y, or a Z community. Gen Z do not have this much of a time or a patience. Okay. And at the same time, when we look at it, their aspirations are much higher and bigger. So they require multiple, the alignment of HR or a management to understand their psychology or a behavior or their approach to the business, but at the same time understand that even when the statistics says that 45% youth is the huge talent energies available in the landscape of your operations, and adopting technology is much faster through the Gen Z as compared to Gen X or Y. Okay, so we need to understand the new ways of operations, new ways of methodologies at HR, and of course, new ways of business operations. Traditional methodologies will not work, largely with the Gen Z community. AI-driven tools are supporting a lot to Gen Z's aspirations, and we need to also inspire and aspire with our leadership style with these people.
The young minds are pretty, smart in that matter.
Yeah.
Okay, so one question, and then this would be the last question. I know, it's been taking a bit long for us, but since you are interacting with the CXOs, CHROs every day, so what's your biggest advice for CHROs looking to integrate AI into their processes?
My advice to all the business leaders, HR, functional CHROs, they should adopt technology with the wide lens.
Okay.
By 2050, these all, the fundamentals of hiring process will get changed. Probably with the help of AI, I think these all multiple round of interactions, multiple assessments, the psychometrics, behavioral, the methodologies of hiring will get further funneled down to very in the intrinsic manner. New tools and technologies will overcome many of the methods or processes of hiring, but don't undermine that humans are need to be tackled with the empathy. At times we have created that technologies, and those people also have a smart approach to cheat the technology as well. Okay, so there is a fine balance between the technology with the human interface that would be required for all the HR leaders.
Thank you. Thanks a ton, Rakesh ji, for sharing your journey from leading HR in large organization, your experience, and the Olyx Global HR way that you've been working in.
So thank you so much, Puneet, inviting me on the Value Metrics, the podcast. It was really amazing to have a conversation with you.
To our listeners, thank you for joining us today. If today's episode sparked a new idea, helped you reflect on your own practices, or simply brightened your day, don't forget to subscribe, share, and stay tuned for more. Until next time, keep leading with purpose, curiosity, and a touch of poetry in your heart. God bless. Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you.